Parents of Reddit, what secrets do you know about your teenager that they don't know you know? Story 1. Found some very dirty stuff on my browser history after my daughter spent the night. She was 14, and also a Google search on how to delete history. She was unsuccessful. I was very disappointed about her lacking computer skills. Story 2. My 14-year-old son has a huge stack of corn DVDs hidden behind his Harry Potter collection on his bookshelf. Apparently he is really into mature lesbians. Story 3. I've noticed my son, who is 14, goes into the bathroom every night after his sister goes to bed. I'm pretty sure it's his nightly masturbation. I'm not sure why he can't do it in his bedroom, but whatever, it's not like I'm going to ask him about it. But it's like clockwork. I tuck my daughter into bed, retire to my own bedroom, and I hear him go into the bathroom. Every night. Story 4. My teenage son will text critiques to his girlfriend after sex. He is either incredibly confident or a huge butthole. But mostly both. I saw a couple of the texts. Not spying. Plus he is the most brutally honest person I have ever met. He knows I saw them and I said, hey, maybe that is not the coolest thing. His response was that you gotta let people know what you want and that they were really just suggestions for things she would find super fun. Story 5. When my son started getting wet dreams, he made a loincloth out of TP and duct tape to wear at night. It looked like a big silver diaper. Story 6. My school district taught students how to speak French starting in kindergarten. In high school my friends and I were pretty much fluent and would speak French over the phone to make secret plans to hang out after our parents went to sleep. I learned in college that my mother is fluent in French. I always wondered how she knew I was sneaking out. Story 7. When we moved into this house I did up an old workshop that was away from the house so my son and his mates could use it. It's been carpeted and curtained for insulation / soundproofing, has good electrics so light / heat / fridge taken care of, fully networked for internet / Xbox, and later we improved the ventilation due to the copious amounts of weed they all smoke. It also has its own entrance so people can come and go and pizza can be delivered without it disturbing me. When he was a teenager it was packed with his friends every night. At weekends they'd even sleep in there, but while he thought he was getting a great deal from us, at least I knew where he was every night and never had to worry about him hanging out on street corners or committing petty crimes because he had nowhere to go and giving myself, and more importantly my wife, that kind of peace of mind was priceless. Story 8. Not a parent, but after getting caught asking Jeeves once for naked pictures of Britney Spears, long time ago, I thought that I learned how to get my corn the proper way. I would just go print the pictures and clear the history. After accumulating tons of printed pictures that got dirtier as I got older, I come home one day to find that my lovely mother has cleaned my room. In a panic, I just awkwardly thank my mom and go to run upstairs. Before I can she just says, "Oh, and I put your things in the bottom drawer of your far nightstand." Sure enough, my wank bank was neatly organized in a box in my nightstand. It was difficult times when we only had family computers. Story 9. I work with and coach adolescent / teen kids. They're often ridiculously easy to read. Even the sneaky ones are usually pretty bad at keeping secrets. In my late 20s, I realized that I was probably pretty similar when I was a kid, and that all the stuff I thought I had gotten away with then, with parents, camp counselors, teachers, etc., was probably just the adults showing discretion. I see what you did there, Mom and Dad. Well played. Story 10. I'm not a parent, but when I was in the army, I used to see this all the time with the 18-year-olds we used to get from basic training. Not only is it ridiculously easy to spot when they were trying to get away with things, but for whatever reason a fair number of them would insist up and down that they weren't even when they had been caught red-handed. It really made me appreciate my mom and a few of my teachers who looked out for me when I was a kid. If you made it this far, please consider pressing the subscribe and like button. Now continue to the video. Story 11. My little brother's best friend was insanely nervous about coming out to his parents. He made a huge production out of it, trying to find the right time to tell them, etc. So he finally does it at the age of 25. Mom, Dad, I'm gay. Yeah, we've known that since you were about 13. So we were thinking about going to Jazz Fest this weekend. What's your work schedule look like? Story 12. My ex-GF had a brother who everyone in the family knew was gay. They didn't care and figured he would tell them when he was ready. One day he called a big family meeting, had a big emotional outpouring, and said, "I'm gay." He was obviously ready for a confrontation. When his family members all said something to the effect of, "Yeah, we know, and we don't give a shit," he became furious and started screaming. His big dramatic moment was ruined, but he was determined to make it dramatic anyway. Story 13. My dad thought he knew I was gay when I was 13. He gave me a talk about it and everything. To be fair, I did love musical theater, had no manly male friends, hated sports, loved romance novels, and had a pair of pink shoes. But I was just different. But really, you're giving a 13-year-old the "I sure hope you're not gay" talk? Slow your roll, Dad. Most kids don't have sex one way or the other for another couple years. I had barely discovered masturbation, fair Chris Sake. Didn't turn out gay. I went on to have several serially monogamous hetero relationships, and I'm now happily married with child. He still thinks I'm gay somehow. I don't get it. He didn't come to my wedding, guess I was denying my gayness or something, and has never met his grandson. We haven't talked in almost 2 years. He's probably off sucking a bit fat D right now. Story 14. My parents just up and told my brother that they loved him, and that they were going to love him no matter what, and that he could tell them anything. So he said, "Okay?" Then my mom said, "We just want to let you know that even though you're a homosexual, we love you and always will." He isn't gay. Story 15. 12-year-old made it abundantly clear yesterday that he's been visiting porn sites by freaking out when I opened Firefox on his account. I have no intention of checking out his history. None. Edit, Buck. Several people convinced me that I should look, just in case. So I did. Now I feel soiled, not by what I saw, which was nothing I hadn't seen before, but because I violated his privacy. At least I am somewhat reassured he hasn't discovered some darker corn depths than I knew existed. He's also clever. He's found a site that allows you to view a few full-length movies in full quality for free, and it looks like he's been returning each day for new ones. I'm clever too. I copied the Firefox history file, places.sklite, from his profile to one of mine, so he'll have no idea that I've seen his history. Still feel shitty doing it. Edit 2, I made a mistake. I only looked at the links he'd visited very quickly. The videos, which I thought were full-length, are only 2-minute previews. There is at least one official site that streams full-length videos for free though, saw it a while back and can't remember its name. Affiliated with free ones I think, but it's not HD and nowadays I tend to either torrent or use Xhamster. Story 16. I borrowed a student's computer in class, and noticed he had Chrome, Firefox, and IE9. I asked him which one he'd like me to use, and he just looked at me quizzically and told me to use whichever. So when I start typing something into the address field, use Explorer. Story 17. Well, let's see one. One day at 15 he comes home very late from school. He has a shit-eating grin and avoids eye contact. He immediately takes a shower, something he never did after school. That was the day he lost his virginity. But, I checked the condoms I kept stored in a drawer in the living room. Yep, some were missing. Story 18. I have a 16-year-old stepson, and I know all about his private life. I'm a double agent to a degree. His mom doesn't need to know everything I know, but I always explain to him how to be safe. I told him, we don't want to be grandparents right now. I know what teens do, and I know you are going to have sex and do drugs. Always wear a condom, and I've gotten them for him, and if you smoke pot, do it somewhere safe. Not in a car or in public, but in a buddy's basement. He tells me everything, because he knows I won't judge him on it. He can ask questions about sex that he can't ask anyone else. He asks me for relationship advice, and he knows I won't say anything to his mom. Story 19. My parents gave me a sex talk. My mom sat there for 45 minutes and explained to me that if I even touched a girl solely before we were bound by marriage, I was being disrespectful to her and her future husband. My dad sat there and nodded in agreement. Then my mom left so my dad and I could talk alone. My dad goes, "Okay, so that bullshit aside. Dude, just don't be stupid. There's lots of things you can do with a girl to get off without actually having sex. It's inevitable you're gonna get physically involved with girls. I just really want you to be smart about it." I love my dad to pieces. Story 20. My mom was a lot like this. Very upfront with me, let me have girls over and whatnot. For some reason, though, she still would do the two-knot barge in, and it was beginning to piss me off. So one day, I am with the second girl in my history, we are under my blankets naked from the waist down, but wearing t-shirts, spooning. I had a hand up the shirt and everything, MID action, and I hear my mom say something about me in the living room, start walking to my door. In my mind I am like, okay, let's see how this goes. She does her standard double tap barge in, starts asking me a question, and I am sure this girl had the most bewildered look on her face, we are both sweaty on the brow, and my mom just stops dead in her tracks, turns around and closes the door. Ended that bucking problem right then and there. Story 21. I'm not a parent, but one Saturday when I was in high school, I snuck out the basement window. Clean getaway, had fun with my friends, and smooth re-entry and back into bed. The next morning my mom, dad, and I were finishing breakfast. I felt like a bucking panther. I just duped my dad. He went to West Point and was in the army for quite some time, so he is very alert. My mom went upstairs and I was washing my dishes. My dad walks over to me and says suspiciously, "D, hey, can you load the dishwasher?" Me, sure. Dad starts to walk upstairs, stops, turns, continues to walk, stops, turns. D, oh, and when you're done can you clean up the mud you left behind on the wall from when you snuck out the basement window last night? Thanks. Smiles and walks upstairs. Story 22. My mom recently told me that when she was in high school she would sneak back into her house through the basement window after being out late with friends and whatnot. After doing this for a few months she came home one night to find a note on the window from my grandfather saying, "Mary, just use your key and go through the kitchen door." She figured he would be sitting waiting for her, but he wasn't. He just didn't want cops to see her and think she was breaking in. He wasn't going to deal with that shit at 2 in the morning. Story 23. My mom had a curfew of midnight when she was a teenager, so she would come in and get into bed, but my great-grandmother felt that she was missing out on the fun, so she got a rope ladder to hang outside of my mom's bedroom window, and when my grandmother was asleep my mom would poke her head out and my great-grandmother would wink at her and she would climb out the window down her rope ladder. Story 24. What about things your parents think they know but actually don't have a clue about? For instance, I accidentally burned a bag of popcorn and threw it in the trash in my bedroom when I was 15. My mom thought the burn smell was cigarette smoke and promptly punished me for being a drug addict. She also used to lie to my doctor about when I started menstruating, because she thought getting your period at 12 meant you were some sort of slut, Japanese immigrant tiger mom. Story 25. I'm not a parent yet, but I'd like to share an awkward story from my own teenage years. I was raised by my super strict, hardcore Christian Baptist grandparents. I was a really horny virgin female. Since I wasn't ready to give it up yet, I went to Spencer's and bought myself a nice dildo/vibrator. We had such great times together and I'd hide it under a certain stack of notebooks and papers in my drawer. One day, I came home from school and my grandma said, "Honey, your room was looking messy so I cleaned it for you." I thought, okay, she picked up and probably vacuumed, no biggie. When I got in there, I immediately checked my secret hiding place. The dildo was gone. She had cleaned and organized my room, which was unnecessary. I never saw the dildo again and she never brought it up. So without a dildo, I lost my virginity to my boyfriend. Way to go, Grandma.